Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Pixel and welcome to the Sapphire Tech YouTube channel. Today we are once again going to be taking a quick look at the Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War multiplayer beta, but this time we're going to be running the game on our SAPPHIRE Pulse RX 5600 XT graphics card. We'll be taking a look at both the maximum and competitive settings while also running at a 1080p resolution. Now before we get started, there are a couple of things that I need to mention. First of all, this is the second video in a series of 3. The first video was taking a look at our SAPPHIRE NITRO Plus RX 5500 XT, and the next video will be taking a look at our SAPPHIRE NITRO Plus RX 5700 XT, except that time at 1440p. Once they're uploaded, I will be adding a couple of cards to this video, as well as direct links down in the description below. Secondly, throughout this video, you're probably going to notice quite a bit of screen tearing. This is due to capturing all of our footage using an external capture card. We record our videos this way in order to avoid using a software recorder that will always have some negative impact on performance. Providing that you play the game with a form of sync on your end, you won't need to worry about said screen tearing. Right, so with that out of the way, let's take a look at our performance while playing at the game's maximum settings. On the more traditional game modes, we found that our frame rate would, for the most part, hold a minimum of around 90. However, the reality is that our average across all the maps tested would likely be somewhere more around the 120 FPS mark. Sure, there are areas where we dip below and peak above those numbers, but as a general rule of thumb, I'd say that these numbers are pretty accurate. If we move on over to the larger game modes, we see on average around a 10% reduction to our frame rates. As is to be expected, performance here is quite variable, though thankfully, I never really noticed that variability causing me problems. Gameplay was smooth and input latency felt consistent. Again, just like with our NITRO Plus RX 5500 XT, we never had to deal with any of the annoying stuttering that many players were reporting, which is always a good feeling. Overall, I'd say that the Pulse RX 5600 XT was able to offer a great gameplay experience while running the game maxed out. I still to this day honestly believe that the Pulse RX 5600 XT graphics card is the 1080p champion in terms of its price and performance, especially for games that primarily focus on multiplayer. You see, if you are willing to drop down some of that eye candy and shift focus to pushing frame rates in order to gain a competitive advantage, the RX 5600 XT is able to push some rather impressive numbers, so let's take a look at those, shall we? Right, so I hate to break the fourth wall here, but since I've already made a very similar video to this already, I just want to apologise for the repetition here. It's incredibly difficult to restructure what are essentially very simple sentences, so yeah, I'm sorry about that. Normally, when trying to get a competitive advantage, we'd basically just minimise as much as possible in order to maximise our frame rates. However, much like last year's Modern Warfare, Black Ops Cold War has a bit of an issue in terms of visibility. Bearing this in mind, we've either minimised or disabled everything other than texture quality, anti-aliasing and object view distance. Oh, and we've also kept the render resolution at 100% of 1080p. Both texture quality and object view distance are set to high, whereas anti-aliasing has been set to medium. The reason we've kept some AA is simply because the raw image that the game pumps out can be incredibly noisy and filled with shimmering, making it incredibly difficult to discern distant detail. Not to mention that the jaggies on the horizon can easily be mistaken for enemy snipers. Object view distance, on the other hand, is all about minimising popping. On the larger maps, particularly those that contain lots of foliage, popping can be incredibly distracting. The Call of Duty franchise has always had its fair share of camping and head peeking, but as the maps have gotten larger and more complex, this playstyle has only risen in popularity. This means that if you're going to be running around in the open, you're going to want to be constantly scanning for movement, and when you've got objects popping in and out of existence all over the place, it's all too easy to mistake popping for an enemy, or even worse, ignore an enemy on the assumption that it was just popping. When it comes to texture quality, it's more of a personal preference thing really. When set to low, I found that some enemy models would blend in with the backgrounds, whereas when set to high, I was definitely better able to locate stationary enemies. Either way, it's not like you're going to see much if any difference in performance, so just go with whatever you find the most appealing. At these settings, our frame rates rocketed, however so did the variability, making it almost impossible to confidently nail down an average frame rate, especially when that average varies so greatly between each map. That said, in the more traditional game modes, I certainly noticed that I'd find my frame rate to be above 150 more than I did below it, and the game did feel great. Moving on over to the large game modes, I found performance to once again be around 10% lower than on the smaller maps. We were able to hold a stable 120 FPS the vast majority of the time. There were certainly a few moments where we dipped below that, but on the whole, I'd be more than happy to claim that the RX 5600 XT offers a stable 120 FPS at 1080p. Once again, I need to make it clear that all the gameplay in this video was recorded during a beta, and performance at launch may very well vary. But with all that said, that is once again going to be me done for today, so thank you so much for watching. If you are new around here, please do consider slapping that subscribe button and dinging that bell so you get notified of our future uploads. You can leave any questions, suggestions or feedback down in the comment section below, and if you like the video then leaving us a like would also be greatly appreciated. For now though, from myself and everybody here at the Sapphire Tech YouTube channel, thank you so much for stopping by, and until next time, we'll catch you later, bye bye.